Abiding in the Word, Bible search, Bible study. Tonight, in keeping with the times, let us look at Acts chapter 27 and verses 33 through 35. The book of Acts chapter 27 verses 33 through 35. I'll be reading from the Good News translation, beginning at verse 33. Just before dawn, Paul begged them to eat some food. Ye have been waiting for 14 days now, and all this time you have not eaten a thing. Verse 34, I beg you, then eat some food. You need it in order to survive. Not even a hair of your heads will be lost. Verse 35, after saying this, Paul took some bread, gave thanks to God before them all, broke it, and began to eat. Notice verse 35 once again. After saying this, Paul took some bread, gave thanks to God before them all, broke it, and began to eat. God bless you, and may God bless us all in the reading and the consuming of his word. For this study tonight, we want to focus on give God a thank offering. Give God a thank offering. The best way to respond to the goodness of God is to give God a thank offering. I read a story where a young man from the country went to the city to take care of some business. And he stopped in a restaurant for lunch. When his food was served, he bowed his head and gave God thanks, just as he always did at home. But there was a young fellow at the next table who noticed the young man was praying, thinking that the young man was a little country and not hip or out of step with city ways. He tried to embarrass the young man from the country. He tried to embarrass him by saying, hey, country, does everyone do that out in the country where you live? Meaning, does everybody bow their head and pray over food in the country where you live? And the young believer turned to him and said, no, bro, the pigs don't. So my brothers and my sisters, don't be like the pigs. The pigs keep their heads down, consuming what's in it for them. Don't be like the pigs. Don't be guilty of ingratitude. As a matter of fact, the more I think about it, the church don't really need this holiday. Our Thanksgiving is daily, hourly, and minute by minute. And it goes on and on and on. The word thanks is becoming more and more obsolete in this society. For many of us, gratitude occupies no part of our thinking, nor does it find any expression in our vocabulary. The more I think about it, I'm thankful tonight for my parents, who said when somebody gave me something, they would look at me and say, now what are you going to say? Meaning, tell them thank you. And we made it a habit of praying before we eat. Notice this, notice now. Notice with me this 35th verse in this 27th chapter of Acts. Paul had the habit of praying before he ate. Verse 35. Paul took some bread, gave thanks to God before them all. Now, Paul was on a ship out in a horrendous storm, and they had not eaten for 2 weeks because of seasickness. And the ship was about to crash ashore. And Paul knew that everybody on board the ship needed some physical strength to be able to withstand the crash. The ship was out of control. And so the Bible says that Paul took some bread, gave thanks to God before them all, before all the crew on the ship, and he broke it, and he began to eat. Now, Paul's act of giving thanks for food teaches us two very important lessons. Lesson number one. First, praying in public. Paul teaches us the lesson of praying in public. The King James Bible says he did it. He gave thanks in the presence of them all. Paul gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. Now this shows that Paul was not ashamed of his faith. He was not ashamed to pray in public. He was not ashamed to say grace before partaking of the meal. Now, in contrast, like the city boy in the story, many of us sit in nice restaurants and pig out, eat till we get full, without ever stopping to give God thanks. Because we are ashamed to pray to God in public. Ashamed to say grace in public. It is not necessary, my brothers and sisters, to pray out aloud like Paul did. But failure to bow our heads in silent prayer reveals the weakness or the phoniness of our faith. My brothers and my sisters, don't be ashamed to give God a thank offering. Jesus had the habit of praying in public. Bible search, notice with me the Gospel of John, chapter 6 and verse 11. John 6 and 11. It states, Jesus took bread, gave thanks to God, and distributed it to the people who were sitting there. He did the same with the fish, and they all had as much as they wanted. He gave thanks. Before he put it to his mouth, he gave thanks. He prayed in public before everybody. He gave God thanks. The first lesson that Paul teaches us is praying in public. Secondly, he gave thanks in the midst of the problem. He gave thanks in the midst of the problem. My brothers and my sisters, some people are consumed by their problems. They never think to give thanks in their prayers. They are so consumed by what they're going through until they forget to tell God thank you. All they do is constantly pray about their problems and never think to thank God for their blessings. All they do. You know anybody like that? Constantly pray about their problems and never think to thank God for their blessings. My brothers and my sisters, I suggest to you that we will find help quicker for our problems and troubles by giving thanks for what we have rather than concentrating on what we do not have. We will get help quicker for our problems and troubles by thanking God for what we have and not concentrating on what we don't have. Bible search, Philippians 4 and 6. Very familiar passage. And I'm still in the Good News Translation. Don't worry about anything. But in all your prayers, ask God for what you need. Always asking him with a thankful heart. Don't worry about anything. But in all your prayers, ask for what you need. Always asking him with a thankful heart. Ask God for what you need with a heart full of thanks. Now, as we prepare to shut this down, during this year, as we celebrate the season of Thanksgiving, which should be 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. But during this year, unlike any other year that we've witnessed, many families have been touched with serious health problems, and some still struggle with these illnesses. Some families have had to deal with death. Given the crisis which have afflicted our country and other countries, we can still be thankful. Wait a minute, Pastor. Over 250-something thousand people have died. Over 10 million have been afflicted with this virus. What do we have to be thankful for? We can be thankful that things have gone as well as they have. We can be thankful that it's not worse. We need to take the attitude of the psalmist. The Bible says, the psalmist says in Psalm 30 and verse 12, the psalmist says, so I will not be silent. I won't be quiet. I will not be silent. I will sing praises to you. Lord, you are my God. I will give you thanks forever. I don't have to wait till Thanksgiving in November. I will give you thanks forever. Because your blessings are new every morning, my thanks ought to be new every morning. And I will give you thanks forever. My brothers and my sisters, before we begin another day, stop and count your blessings instead of dwelling on your troubles. Stop and count your blessings instead of dwelling on your troubles. While you are sitting around the table this Thursday, or doing virtual Thanksgiving, take a moment and give God a thank offering. Take a moment and allow everyone around the table or in your virtual Thanksgiving to testify to what they are most thankful for this Thanksgiving. Unlike any other Thanksgiving in my time, take a moment and ask everybody in your virtual Thanksgiving or everybody around your table to take a moment and give God a thank offering. Tell God and testify before others about what you are most thankful for this Thanksgiving. Brothers and my sisters, you can be saved tonight. Romans 10:9 says, if you will confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that God has raised Jesus Christ from the dead, you shall be saved. Romans 10:13 says, whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Thank you for tuning in. We trust and pray that this lesson has been a blessing to you and yours. There are some important dates that we need to circle on the calendar. One has already passed. November the 18th, absentee ballots were mailed out on November the 18th. December the 7th is the last day to register. December the 14th is the first day of in-person voting, the first day of early voting. January the 5th, 2021 is election day. I was on a Zoom meeting on Saturday around the state, and this was brought to our attention. If there's a 17-year-old that will be 18 by January the 5th, let me say that again. If there is in your household a 17-year-old who will be 18 by January the 5th, they can vote. They can vote. Remember that. A 17-year-old that will be 18 by January the 5th can vote. God bless you, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your prayers. We're feeling your prayers. Thank you so very much for your prayers. We trust and pray that you will be smart, that you would social distance, that you will wear your mask, and above all, that you would trust God to keep you safe. And because God does, we should be reminded to give God a thank offering. Thank Him. You can't thank Him enough. He's done so much. And there is one unspeakable gift, which is Jesus Christ. Thank God for Jesus. Thank God for whatever you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Go to God with your needs, but give God a thank offering. Thank you, our members and our friends. Thank you for our missionary offerings. We've had to dive into it to assist some folks, and those of you that can and will, let us, this time of the year. And not only is this the time of the year, but there are a whole lot of folks that are falling short with food in the cabinet. So let us continue to give our missionary offerings so that we can help those that are less fortunate than us. God bless you, and may God keep you is our prayer. Well, I want you to be safe and smart. Until the next time.